Hi and welcome back. So in this video we're going to be looking at how we can display a list of posts that a user has written. So below the register user endpoint we're going to be creating another endpoint which is going to be app.root and then something like blogs, and then at the end it's going to have a string which is going to be the user ID. So this root is going to be /blogs/ and then the very long user ID that is assigned when we create a user. And notice how now our method that appears below the root has a parameter user ID, which is this one here. Now we are going to display the blogs of a specific user. So the first thing we have to do is find that user. So we're going to do user.get by, not by email, get by ID, and then user ID. And then the blogs is user.get blogs. And then we're going to do return render template. It's going to be user blogs.html, where the blogs is going to be blogs. Okay, so what's happening here? We're going to find the user with this ID, then we're going to get that user's blogs, and finally we're going to render a template called user blogs that doesn't exist yet, and we're going to give that template a parameter, which is the blogs variable, and we're going to call that blogs. And now this template is going to be able to use these blogs to display a list of blogs. So let's go and make that template. Right click on your templates and create a new HTML file and call it user_blogs. And now we can go into our profile, copy everything, paste it in user blogs, and instead of hello email we're going to display a list of blogs. So the way we're going to do that is, first of all, let's go into a register and make sure that we copy this div up here. We don't need page form class, but we do need the container, and that container is going to, as you know, make sure that things are fitting in the screen properly as per the Bootstrap framework. And then in this container we're going to have something like h2, a heading 2, and we're going to have a variable called email and then '(s) blogs. So for example, my email's blogs, and we're going to need to pass the email of the user as a variable as well. Okay, and now we can say for each of the blogs in the blogs list, then render the blog. So the way we do that is for blog in blogs end for, we're going to do something, and for each of the blogs we want to say h3 blog.name, or title rather, and here if you're using the PyCharm Professional Edition you may get some proper Jinja 2 attributes and highlighting and things like that appearing. If you're using the Community Edition, then unfortunately you do not, and that's just one of the limitations of using the Community Edition. It's not a big deal though. If we go into our blog model, we can see that the attributes that we've got are author, title, author ID, description, and underscore ID. So that's the attributes we can use here. So title is one of them, the other one is description, and we can say p blog.description, and of course I did forget to do this here. Okay, so h3 is a heading that is smaller than h2, and h2 is smaller than h1. So h1 is the biggest heading, h5 or h6, I don't really know. One of those two is the smallest heading. P stands for paragraph, and it's just a normal paragraph with some space at the top, some margin at the top, that's all. Okay, so now for each of the blogs we're displaying the title and then the description. And then I'm also going to display HR. HR is a horizontal rule. It's just a line, basically, that will separate one blog from another. Okay, so that's brilliant. Now we've got a way to display the blogs. So the only problem that I see with that is that we need a string user ID. So we need to get to the blogs page by knowing the user ID of somebody. And the user ID is normally quite complex. So we're going to do something as well. App root just / blogs. And user ID is going to be none by default. So if we access this root, then user ID will be none. If we access this root with a user ID, then that value will replace the user ID's value. And then what we'll say is, if user ID is not none, we'll do that. Else, user is user find by get by email rather, session email. Okay, so I think you can see what I'm doing here. If the user ID is not none, it means we've accessed this root, we've given it a user ID, so we want to find that user's blogs. If we access this one, it means we want to access our own blogs, so we're getting the user as per the session email, i.e. yourself, if you're logged in. If you access this and you're not logged in, you're going to get a nasty error. So hopefully nobody does that. And that can be something that you guys can work on your own time if you want to add verification to ensure that session email is set. But let's not worry about that just now, and we will implement that at a later date. Okay, so this will show our blogs as per our email or somebody's user ID. So the first thing to do, of course, is to have some data in there, because if I restart this and then I go over to Chrome when I log in, that's me. But if we go to blogs, we can see that nothing shows up. So we've got this, which is good, but there are no blogs simply because I haven't written any. So what to do is go into the terminal and put some sample blogs and see if that works. So this is simply for verification purposes. Okay, so db.blogs.find. Notice that this blog here is now of an old format. db.users.find. So now we've got my user here, and this is the ID of the user. So what I'm going to do is then say db.blogs.insert, and that is the blog that I copied from before. And remember that the blogs now have another property, which is author_ID, which is going to be my ID. So I'm going to write that in. And of course, sorry about that, that has a duplicate ID because I didn't change the _ID of it. I'm going to change that just now. Just going to increase it by 1, not something you should do in a production server, something that is live to your users, but we can do it here for testing purposes. Okay, so now we've inserted one row, and if we refresh here, we can now see that we've got our first blog here. And you can even see the small faint line at the bottom separating our blogs. Okay, so that's how we would display a list of blogs. And of course, trust me, if we added more blogs, which I'll do just now for you, if we add more blogs, they will also show up there. And navigating through this with a terminal always takes some time, but I will do it just for you. And we will refresh, and now we've got that and the description there. So this is how we would display a short list of blogs. Now what to do is to be able to click them and then access a list of posts in that blog. And we're going to work on that in the next video. I'll see you there.